The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been going on for decades. But is it possible that both people have the same roots? This question has occupied the mind of Tsvi Mesinai, an entrepreneur and investor, one of Israel's high-tech pioneers. In the early 2000s, he sold his share in the high-tech company Sapiens and decided to take a journey to explore the connection between Jews and Muslims in the Middle East.
About 1,000 years ago, in 1037, there was a decree by a Fatimite, a Caliph from Egypt, from Cairo. He said that all of those in the country, here in this country, they don't convert to Islam, must leave the country. At that time, the majority were Christians, the families of the original Byzantine army, and almost all of them left. They didn't want to become Muslims. But the poor Jewish peasants were not able, they didn't have the resources. There was no one to sell the miserable land that they had on the mountains. It was impossible for them to live. There were no Jewish communities nearby, so they had to make as if they convert. In the home, they continued to be Jewish, and they cheated externally as if they are Muslims.
Mesinai says he spent millions of dollars trying to research this. His journey brought him to the Palestinian city of Yata in the southern West Bank, close to Hebron. He claims that just like the converted Jews in Europe in the Middle Ages, the so-called Mustarabim Jews who live in the West Bank were forced to convert to Islam and have retained some Jewish customs even until today, sometimes without knowing their origin.
Very popular custom is circumcision. Circumcision in the age initially of 8 days. This is unique to this country. The Muslims in general are supposed to do it before the age of 13, because this was the age that Ishmael was circumcised. Another one for the women was Afrashat Chala, just taking when they were baking at home. Now most of them are not baking, but they remember the mother or the grandmother that was baking pita at home. So when she was baking, she took a bit of the dough and threw it to the fire. This is Afrashat Chala. I'm still finding it in more and more places.
This is not a new idea, although it is considered a bit far-fetched in the academic arena. Historian Dr. Doron Sar-Avi points to Yitzhak ben Tsvi, the second president of Israel, as the first to bring this theory to the surface.
The story starts in 1927. Yitzhak ben Tsvi, who later became the second president of Israel, but back then was an activist, toured the Palestinian city of Hebron. He saw Muslim people who were searching for Chanukiah, the Jewish instrument used during the Hanukkah Jewish holiday. He tried to understand what he saw, and the Jewish residents of Hebron sent him to Yata. When he got there, he was sent to the El Haram family, and there he sat down and spoke with the Mukhtar, the head of the village, who told him that their great-grandfather was called Mechama. He came from the city of Haiba in the Arabian Peninsula. Somehow, he found himself in Yata. Ben Tsvi heard the story from different communities in Yata, who say they all came from Haiba and their roots are Jewish. He later found out they don't eat camel's meat. They call the Jews our cousins, and perhaps the most significant thing, they don't get married with other Muslim people in Yata. There's a separation between the Mechamra tribe and other Muslims.
But Sar-Avi says that Ben Tzvi's version is not strong enough, but perhaps a key to understanding the connection between Muslims and Jews is situated not far from Yata, in the ancient city of Sucia.
Sucia reached its peak during the Byzantine era, the 5th to 7th centuries. The synagogue, which lies on top of the hill, is the beating heart of the Jewish community. But starting from the 9th century, the early Muslim period, we see changes in the architecture of Sucia. One of the most significant things here in the synagogue is the appearance of a mihrab, a Muslim prayer niche, outside the synagogue, which is pointed to Mecca. We can also see a Muslim inscription near it, which also indicates that a mosque was active here in the year 814 CE. This raises some big questions. Who lived here? Were they Jews who converted to Islam, perhaps by force? Or perhaps the two communities, Jews and Muslims, lived side by side? These questions remain open today.
The synagogue in Sucia has a rare Hebrew inscription written on the mosaic floor, but when we're walking around the ancient site, we can see the remains of other Jewish symbols in this area, such as menorah statues and even evidence of mezuzot, Jewish parchment which is placed on the entrance of the house.
One of the strongest symbols that we can see here in Sucia are the mikvahs, Jewish ritual baths. We can see more than 30 mikvah baths in an area of 22 acres. This is unprecedented. In other Jewish sites from the Byzantine era, you'll find no more than 5 to 10 mikvah baths. So all of these elements are significant because they tell the story of a community which retained its memories for hundreds of years.
These questions are indeed fascinating, but can we still find traces of Judaism among the Muslims in Yata today? A possible answer may be found through Abed, a Palestinian man from Hebron who now lives in Israel.
Half of Yata comes from the Mechamora tribe. Today, Yata is a city of 80,000 people. They all know that their origins is Jewish. They keep Jewish customs like lighting candles in Shabbat. My origins are also Jewish. Everybody knows it. When we look at history, in the time before Muhammad, Jews were here. Jews were living in Yata. Even today, everybody in the West Bank, in each house, forget about what they say on the news, everybody knows that this land belongs to the Jews.
Mesinai says that in recent years, it's become harder and harder to collect evidence from the Palestinians, as well as to convince politicians of this theory. However, he still sticks to it and believes it may change the situation in the Middle East.
We will be one people.